Hey guys, this is Oracle Daphne. My name is Beth, and today I'm back to do a very special video that I've wanted to do for some time now. Since I kind of cut back on doing, the videos on my channel for the most part, and I felt like what's needed is just some messages. I'm going to be pulling from this Enchanted Map Oracle deck. And from some of the other decks that I have. I'm not going to be holding up all of the cards. And as far as time frames, this is for whenever you're watching it. It's going to be applicable for whenever you're watching it, and potentially future also. So say you're watching this, September 1st. It would apply to you at that time, or it could be applicable to you later in time for you as well. So I know a lot of people get stuck on like timelines and things like that, but I feel like in this time, at this moment, what needs to come through are some messages for some people who need to hear specific things. And without doing a private reading, it's hard for that to happen. So I wanted to do this because I felt like this was going to be a great way for me to get some messages out there, not having to do 12 videos and not being kind of stuck into one specific month timeline. And if you want to do a private reading, feel free to reach out to me. My website's oracledaphne.com. The website, I still need to update it. For some reason, I've had a difficult time, Mercury retrograde, as far as getting it updated to show that I'm no longer doing the spring special, so my prices have gone back to normal. So feel free to email me or send a payment, and then we can do reading as soon as we get scheduled. My schedule is on my website, so as far as like my availability. And yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So yeah, I'm pretty much going to be pulling some cards, and I'm specifically pulling reverses, okay, in this deck. Why? Because I feel like the messages are really, really, really amazing in the reverses with this deck. I can't explain why, but it's just that way. So, so let's see. So the first one off the top is Peaks of Joy, but it's in reverse. Peaks of Joy in reverse. So obviously it looks like this. And the number on it is 33, which is interesting. Okay, so I know what this is. So in the book, it talks about relying too heavily on your worldly achievements to feel happiness. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend about this. He and I had talked a lot about happiness and the importance of happiness. And then it came on the radio this past winter where they were doing a study about happiness and how people live longer when they are happy. And it proved my point that happiness is important. And some people actually don't believe that their happiness is important. So message me in the comments below if you do feel like happiness for you is a priority, or if happiness isn't a priority and there's other things that are more important. I'd like to know what you think. But basically it talks about relying too much on external circumstances to be happy. And it's funny, I was talking to someone at work about this also, about how they kept talking about how when certain things happen and then everything will be better. And the thing is, it took me so long, like for me as a person, to realize that if you wait for outside circumstances to improve. Now, granted, we all, when we're looking for a job, all we want is the job. When we're looking for a relationship, all we want is that relationship. But when you actually stop waiting for things to get quote unquote better, or waiting for the job, or waiting for the relationship, or waiting for that good stuff to come in, then you're actually more in a place to receive it, and you're more in a place of happiness. And I know it seems kind of weird, but a lot of people, and especially in our society, they kind of put a lot of weight into, you know, what does your life look like? Do you have a job? Do you have a partner? Do you have kids? You know, how successful are you? Kind of thing. And this card really talks about kind of setting yourself up for, not setting yourself up for failure, because I don't believe in failure, but it's more like setting yourself up for unhappiness, because you're going to be in a constant place of unhappiness if you are waiting for circumstances to change, if you're waiting for things to get better. And it's interesting, I was actually going to do a whole video about this, about how at this time, especially in the astrological community, there's this thing about waiting for the planets to change for the better, waiting it out, wondering when people, I've noticed people are wondering when it is going to be that things are going to get better, or things are going to ease up planetarily, or, you know. And the biggest message that I want to talk about is that we really need to get into a mindset of adapting. And I may still do another video about this. We really need to stop saying, okay, when this happens, everything's going to be better, or when this happens, we can finally relax, or when we get the job, things will finally be better and you can just take a break and rest for a minute. And I feel like people have been kind of like on the edge of their seat for a long time now. There have been a lot of planetary changes. There have been a lot of things that, you know, as a group consciousness, we've had to change. We've had to go through a huge amount of growth. But at the same time, the thing now that needs to be really, it's really crucial for everybody to wrap their mind around it, is the concept of adapting. We need to adapt. And this is hard, especially for people who have a lot of earth sign in their chart, or are fixed signs. Fixed signs generally don't really like a lot of change. Anyone who doesn't like a lot of change, it's going to be a mind shift. It's going to be a shift. But I think it's going to be helpful for people to start to think, okay, how can I adapt to this situation? How can I make something out of what I have? How can I be happy with what I have? How can I be happy doing things and taking charge and making things happen and taking action steps to making myself happy? And people, I feel like, don't really know how to be happy, because in some way it's so ingrained in us that we are constantly waiting for our lives to become perfect so that we can be happy. And it's the same thing with gratitude too. It's like we're constantly waiting for us to finally have enough money to buy whatever so that we can be happy. And it's a trap. It really is a trap. So for those of you who are watching this message, I'm saying this with so much compassion, because I was in that place for so long, and in some way I'm still in that place. There's still things that I would like to see changed in my life personally. Am I waiting for those things to happen to be happy? No, because I've realized that I can be happy just sitting on my deck planting my flowers. I can be happy without having, you know, more clothes in my closet. I can be happy without having the latest and greatest whatever. It's possible for, and I really want to encourage you, it's possible for you to be happy with what you have. And if it's not, then I encourage you to make changes in order to find a way to become happy with what you have. If you're in a relationship, now this goes back to our relationships too. If you're in a relationship that makes you unhappy, then that needs to change, because obviously it's making you unhappy. And if you are unhappy, let's just say you're unhappy and you're trying to find a relationship, it's not going to work. Whatever relationship that you're going to get in, it's not going to work, because you can't you can't bring unhappiness to a partnership and then the partnership be magical and amazing. It just doesn't work that way. If you're unhappy and you get into a partnership, the partnership's gonna suck, period, end of story, because you're not bringing anything to the table. And let's just go back to this materialism thing, okay? Because this card really to me is about materialism, waiting for some element of material wealth or waiting for some element of material happiness to bring happiness, like I just like material happiness, to bring you to a place of joy, to bring you to a place of happiness. And the thing is that it's just ingrained in you, and that you have to have that in order to be happy. And for some, males especially, I'm picking up a very strong male vibe. Males especially base their happiness on how much they have, how much they provide, what they make a year as far as their income. They really are in that place of, waiting to take that deep breath when they finally are able to provide or to produce or bring in a certain amount of income. It's all part of that. It's all part of that ego trap. So I really want to encourage you guys to really try to avoid getting into the trap of the material happiness, that materialism brings happiness, and also to kind of, I want to say unblock. It's like your happiness is blocked because of this material thing that's happening in your head. For some of you. Others, your happiness is blocked because you can't be happy with what you have, because what you have actually makes you really unhappy. Whether it's a relationship that makes you unhappy, whether it's a job that makes you unhappy, you're unhappy. Your happiness is blocked by your own, it's a prison of your own making. And there's another video that I was going to do too about this. Is something else that's coming through really strong. Is some people, and I did this for myself again, to myself for a long time. I backed myself into a corner, and that corner became so that was like my whole world was that little corner, and I decided that unless I had things my way, unless it was going to be my way or the highway, unless it was going to be now or never, unless it was going to be how I wanted, when I wanted, and it was childish. Because we back ourselves into the corner and then we say, well, there's no way that I could leave. There's no way that I could do anything different. There's no way that I could blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, it's a corner. It's a corner of it's a prison of our own making. It's like to me, it's like the Eight of Swords, and that's a karmic, for some of you, that's a karmic lesson. And for me, it was a karmic lesson because I backed myself into the corner and I was like, okay, and then I was constantly unhappy in that corner, but I had done it to myself. I had backed myself in the corner. I had said, well, unless things are the way I want exactly, it's not gonna work. And we always have options. Sometimes those options are not pretty. Some of those options are not fun. Some of those options we have to, and again, this goes back to adapting. As society, we have to learn to adapt or we die. We have to learn to adapt our diet. And I'm going to be doing a video about diet really shortly here, so stay with me. I see people all the time. They don't like the way things taste. They don't like the way, they were raised on a certain things, and they couldn't possibly eat something different. They couldn't possibly imagine cutting something out of their diet because that's what they've always had, or that's what they like, or they like the taste, or it's like they're stuck in a place of non-adaptation. And it really is important that we adapt to our circumstances, that we change what we can, and that we try to wrap our heads around this thing where it's like we stop waiting for things to get better before we live our life. We have to stop waiting to be happy. That motto is be happy now. Be happy now with what you have. That's really the lesson of this card. And it's interesting because I've talked about all these different things in this video, and I wasn't expecting to. I was expecting to really just pull some cards and see what came through, and here I am talking about all these things that I've actually been very much called to talk to you guys about. I mean, really called. Like, this was like, I asked myself, do I do this video? And I wasn't sure what the reaction of people is going to be, but this is not normally the way I read. Also, for those of you who are new to my channel, normally I read a bunch of different cards and channel that way. But this way, I really just love this deck in reverse. It's got some major things, and this is the new energy. This is the new energy. I feel like the new energy is really about adapting, learning to adapt. And the more we can adapt, the more we decide, okay, I'm going to get out of the corner of my own making, okay, or okay, I'm going to change my diet. And here's the thing, the funny thing is like, it's just a little snippet. It's kind of funny. For those of you who have been watching my channel, I may have talked about this before, and I actually have a card about this. I love cheese. I have loved cheese for a long time, and it's been my New Year's resolution to stop eating cheese for many years now. And then, I don't know what it was. One day, I had really had a bad day. Let's just put it that way. It was really bad. And I decided that, and I had eaten some cheese, and I decided to try to see how my health improved if I stopped eating cheese. Not like 100%. I mean, occasionally maybe having a slice of pizza, or occasionally having some Parmesan on something, but like not eating it the way I was eating it before. I was eating a lot of it before. And since I stopped eating cheese, my health has dramatically improved. My hormones dramatically improved. My energy levels dramatically improved. And I realized that was my hurdle. That was my thing that I had to adapt. I had to adapt to my changing body, my aging body, and we are all aging. I had to learn that some things really inhibit your growth. Some things block your growth. Just like some things block your happiness. Some things block your growth. And the more we can adapt, the more we will grow. And then the less we'll become, the less we'll be resistant to actually growing, because then we'll just be in a place of, oh, okay, we can just do this and adapt and change and grow. And the way of the universe is, people say that it's fluid, and it is fluid. It's constantly changing and growing and constantly expanding. And so if we're in this place of, no, I just want everything to stay the same, no, everything, this is how it's always been done, we're going to be unhappy, because we've created our own little corner. We've created this space for ourselves that doesn't allow for any growth. It's the child. And I actually think, okay, talking about how, and I've heard this before in different videos in the astrological community, and essentially other ET groups think of us as being like toddlers, like as far as our maturity. And when you think of like someone who's immature, you think of someone who doesn't want to eat their greens, who doesn't want to do whatever, doesn't want to do their homework, who's resistant to change. And in some way, the next step in our evolution as a group here on Earth is to adapt. And there's going to be challenges to that adapting, because there's going to be major, we're going to have to adapt. It's no longer a question of choice. It's more a question of do or die, basically. We have to adapt, and then or things are going to become so hard it's going to be nearly impossible for us to do things. So we are already kind of adapting. That's just how we are as human beings. We naturally do adapt, but we're capable of a lot more, and we're stunting ourselves from this growth because of fear, and because maybe that's just how it's always been. We've always been kind of immature. We've always been in a rut. And now, like, all these things that are happening, planetary things, that's not going to change until we actually just say, okay, you know what? I'm willing to adapt. I'm willing to change myself. I'm willing to change my mindset. I'm willing to get into a place of gratitude and abundance. And okay, so once you're in that place of gratitude and abundance because you've adapted, then you're open to happiness naturally. And this is something that took me a really long time to learn and is really hard. If you're waiting for external circumstances to change so that you can be happy, you will be unhappy. When you're in that place of gratitude and abundance, it unblocks you naturally. You're like, oh, things are good. And then you're naturally kind of just happy. Why? Because things are good. So so I talked a lot about that. I want to see if there's any other things. I don't want this video to get too long. I pulled a couple other cards to see what the energies are, and there's a lot of, some of you are going to be going through a time of what you would call releasing. Bonds with people that you may be having may be breaking. You may come to a point of separation with a partner, or you may be no longer talking to certain friends. Again, to me, this is like a time of adapting and a time of changing. And when that happens, sometimes we outgrow relationships, or things in our relationships change. And I say that because I pulled, the couple of the cards that I pulled here are Sad Embrace in reverse. And in the upright, it's a person who looks like they're crying. And then Coming Apart in reverse. So that's coming apart, and that's what it looks like in reverse. And Sad Embrace to me is someone who's unhappy because maybe they broke up with someone, or maybe a relationship ended, but it's sort of like they can't quite get over it. Like they're not able to get over it for some reason. Some of you may have had a relationship end and you're just like, maybe you miss that person, or maybe that person, you know, is no longer in your life, and you really wish that they were. Okay, so this is like the Sad Embrace in reverse is about feeling like the universe has deprived you of something. And to me, it's usually feeling deprived of a relationship, or feeling like the universe is stopping you from what you believe you deserve. So I came to a point recently with this where I was like, you know, I finally got to a place where I was like, okay, I do love myself. And I felt like, okay, I do love myself and I'm ready for a relationship, but at the same time, it wasn't happening. That relationship wasn't happening, and you know, I met people, but it just wasn't happening. And I got not bitter, but like upset at the universe for it not happening. Because I finally believed that I deserved it, and then I was like, okay, but where is he? Like, what's going on, you know? And in some way, this is about feeling like you could do better, or like the universe isn't really bringing you what you want or what you need at this time. And the thing is that this card to me is about knowing that. Okay, so to me it's about knowing you deserve it, but losing the sense of entitlement, losing the anger towards the universe for it not happening, losing the bitterness, letting go of the bitterness, detaching from that bitterness, detaching from that expectation that you're putting on the universe, or you're putting on the outside circumstances to bring you what you want. And, you know, some of us are in a place sometimes when it comes to meeting other people of fear. We don't even realize it. we're afraid and we don't realize it. Some of us say, okay, well, I'm ready, but then when they meet someone, they're not ready. Like, I went out on a date with someone and they wanted to have kids, like, right away. And I realized at the moment that I wasn't ready. Like, I wasn't ready to have kids right away. And I thought, well, maybe I was. And so in some way, I feel like that there's that energy there. Some of you are just not getting what you want at this time. And the thing that I wanted to say before is, a lot of times when that happens, it isn't about manifestation, but you should watch my video on manifesting things. It isn't about manifestation. It's about timing, because it's not supposed to happen at this time. And there is something that's, some of you, like, things happen, maybe are happening slower than you want, because you also got the slow and steady card in reverse, slow and steady. And some of you, you're not really taking the action steps needed to go out and meet different people if you're wanting a relationship. But some of you, and you're not taking the action steps to make any changes in your life that would bring about doors opening, things happening in a positive way for you, things coming through. But yeah, there's this, to me, there's this slower energy. So some of you move at your own speed, and some of you, it's the universe's timing. It's not really matching up with your timing. So, and some of you need to slow down. Like, that's, to me, like, that's the other thing too. There's just, it's just like a speed thing that's happening, a timing thing that's happening. Some of you are moving too fast also. Some of you are moving too fast. You're like way ahead, and it's like you're living in the future. You're not living in this moment, and you need to live more in this moment. Yeah, it says pushing things forward impulsively will not only prevent success, but potentially cause more trouble than you are prepared to handle. Moving too quickly will only yield unripe fruit with a bitter taste. Slow down, breathe, meditate. You're not a human doing, you're a human being. You need to just be. So to me, this is like, some of you, things are happening really fast. You're moving, you're doing a lot. And this is, I noticed this when I moved to the Omaha area. Cars are made different than they used to be made, okay? People can drive 45 miles an hour and it's nothing, okay? It's easy to drive 45 miles an hour. Back in the day, cars weren't made that way. It took time to get to 45 miles an hour. So people are going much faster, and they're getting a lot more done, and they're not realizing how much they're doing in a day. Make sure you're not overdoing it. Make sure you're slowing down, taking time for yourself, taking time to do things at a moderate pace, going for a walk at a moderate pace. I actually told people a long time ago, and I'm getting this again, to actually cook more, bake more, because when you're cooking and you're baking, you have to be present in the kitchen, and it's about timing. It's about cooking things at a certain time, and when you're doing that, you're naturally relaxed. So some of you just needing to get back in the kitchen. Like, my guide is showing me someone, literally someone that I know, who all they use is a microwave. They use a microwave to cook everything. And the thing is that's not good, because it I wouldn't say proliferates, but like encourages this kind of rapid lifestyle where it's like you don't have to slow down to eat meals. You don't have to slow down if you're microwaving everything. You know, you don't have to slow down anymore when you're going places, because everything is sort of acclimated to this kind of frenzy, anxiety-ridden society where everybody's on anti-anxiety drugs. So it's like, you know, some of you need to, and what's happening is your body has gotten so used to this kind of ADHD lifestyle that that's what you've become. You've become like attention deficit, where you can't either sit still, or you're moving too fast, and you don't know how to live your life anymore, kind of at a slower pace. And it's really important that you do so. So make sure that you're slowing down. Some of you, it's just you're too busy. You're too busy, and you need to make time for yourself. You need to take time to do things that are not. And some of you, I feel like there's a lot of resistance to that, because some of you are going, well, what about this and what about that? And I have to go this. you can slow down. You can find a way to clear your schedule enough so that you have a little bit of time to live at a slower pace. The funny thing is I love looking at people on Instagram who have kind of like that slow paced lifestyle. I like to see, and you might want to check it out too. I mean, there's a lot of different people who are living a relaxed lifestyle where they're not in a place of gotta get here, gotta get there. That's not how they live. And they're actually really productive, and they're actually really creative and different. And I just feel like you're capable of a lot more, and you're stunting yourself by moving too quickly is what I want to say. So that's coming through strongly also. There was something else. Oh, I was going to read the Coming Apart card. Okay, so, you know, it's so funny. I swear this video was not going to be talking about adapting or change. That was not my intention, but I guess it's coming through that some people really do need to adapt to their situation. And if situation is old, because we're going to talk about, again, the Coming Apart card in reverse. The Coming Apart card in reverse is about a situation that's unraveled, or that's becoming, or you're in a place where it's like you needed to change but you haven't wanted to. So again, the concept of resisting change is coming up here. And to me, it's sort of like some of you are living in sort of like a temporary situation. It's like you said, okay, well, I don't have the money, so I'm just going to stay where I'm at, or I can't do this because I know it's going to be a temporary thing anyways. It sort of just feels like you need to get out of whatever it is that you're in, but you don't see a way out of it, or you don't want to make the change. Oh, and this is coming through very strongly too. This is something else. There are people who don't want to make a sacrifice because it's either painful and it's like the road to something better is too hard. They see like there's like an obstacle and they don't want to make the sacrifice. They don't want to lose. Okay, this goes back to not wanting to lose, okay? There are people who really don't want to lose anything, whether it's money or whether it's status or whether it's, you know, the way that, you know, people, they come off it to other people. They don't want to lose. And because they don't want to lose, they can't get out of something that's really negative because they just literally don't want to let go. And they don't want to lose. They don't want to make the sacrifice. But what they don't realize, and I talked about this in one of my videos, and I don't remember which one it was. What people don't realize is that once they make that sacrifice, and once they get out of something, even if it costs them something, they're going to be so much better off. It's like they're going to really, to me, it's having adapted. They've really adapted to their situation. And they've really, that's the karmic lesson is saying, you know what, okay, this is going to cost me something, but what I'm going to gain is so much better than what I'm in. So it's like, they always say that you have to spend money to get money. And in some way, this is kind of what I'm telling you. And to me, some of you, it's financial. Some of you want to leave a certain situation, or you don't have the money, or you want to move and you don't have the money, or you want to do something but you don't have the money. And the thing is that some of you, it's just you don't want to spend the money too. You don't want to spend it. But there's a cost. To me, there's like a cost to what it is that's going to get you to that next level, that next point. And some of you are setting it up for yourselves. You're saying, you know what, until I have the money to do this, I can't go. And then you're just going to stay, and everything's going to stay the same, and you're going to be unhappy. And, you know, it goes back to having to make a sacrifice, having to lose just a little bit to gain a lot. It's like having to buy a lottery ticket. You have to spend the money to win the lottery. You can't just win the lottery without having to spend the money. That to me is a lesson. It's a karmic lesson for some of you, and it's very strong. where you're headed to me is like you can't go any further. That's where you're headed, because you got the rock bottom card also following that, and the rock bottom card is literally hitting the wall. You've hit the wall. You can go no further in a situation, and it's, to me, it's like, it's an ending. It's a point of endings. To me, this is a strong endings card. Some of you, it's hitting the wall in a relationship. Some of you, it's hitting the wall, like, again, with maybe your health, or with something where it's like, you know, you can't really progress until something changes. The thing that I like about the rock bottom card is it means you've hit the bottom, so there really is no worse, you know. I always tell people, don't ever say you can't get worse, you know, because it will. Okay, so always say it can always get worse. It can, because it can. Okay, but with this message, I just want you to know that, like, to me, it seems like for some of you, maybe you reached the bottom. Maybe you are depressed. Maybe there's you've gone through a lot, and you felt like you're not progressing, or things can't get better, but they can get better. And I do want to tell you that, to me, it's a card about moving upwards, because you've really gone as far down as you can go. And maybe you have reached a low point. You know, that's, for some of you, that's definitely possible. Okay, so I'm just gonna pull a couple of other little cards, which I'm not going to show because they're part of my own decks. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so to me this is like, there's so many cards to talk about the school of hard knocks, having lost a lot in life, obstacles, having to go through a lot of change, or having to go through, my aunt would say, go through a door. To me, it's a door that's like, that you have to walk through, that's very challenging. To me, it's setbacks, moving, job changes. Some of you, you've dealt with someone who's not the best person, or they've lied. There's been a lot of lies, you know. There's things that they haven't been honest about, you know. Some of you are not over that person. Some of you are blocked because of a twin flame situation. Some of you, it's a twin flame situation, which maybe the twin is not that great. And maybe you're stuck on the twin. It's hard to see it here, but that's one thing that I am seeing. To me, all of the cards talk about, to me, losses, and karma, and overcoming a lot. I do feel like, and I definitely feel like some of you, there's this thing about having gone through a lot, but at the same time wanting things to improve and wanting a relationship. And I do see that. And I do see that also, it's sort of like, again, going back to you overcoming certain things. Once you've overcome certain things, then it seems like you're going to get to this new phase. Some of you are in a new phase, some of you are going to get to the new phase, and some of you are like just sort of like the tail end of a phase that has been really hard, like a life phase that's just been one thing after another that's been really, really hard, and you're going to get to a point where you either meet someone new, or your life is a lot more, I want to say, easy. But the thing is like overcoming, to me, it's like if you're not there, then it's like there are a lot of obstacles to getting there, and a lot of it is paying off karmic debts. And so you really do need to clear your energy. I am seeing that. Anything where you have like an unhealthy situation, like an unhealthy person in your life where there, you know, there's a lot of, you know, arguing and fighting and stuff like that, to me, like, needs to, that needs to end. To me, it's like your relationships may have been a war zone. Like, you may be in a constant battle with someone. Some of you may be in a battle with family too. To me, there's something about family. Some of you, the communication between you and a partner is really unhealthy. It's really toxic. I do see that also. The last card that I'm pulling is this card. It's wide open, and this to me is about forcing things, wanting things to happen, and them not happening. Maybe you love someone and they don't love you back, or maybe you're trying to convince someone of something and they're just not willing to listen. To me, there's this thing about not listening. Maybe it's a partnership that's deteriorated because you're on two different pages. Some of you, there's a lot of negative like emotions too, like envy, jealousy, possessiveness. Like, you're in a relationship, there's a lot of toxicity stuff there going on too. Some of you are holding on very, very tightly to a person who you really need to let go of. It talks about choking the life out of that which you desire. So if you're in a relationship and they never give you space, you never give them space, it's time to take some space. If you're trying to force something and you know it's not right, then it's not going to work. Period. End of story. If you're not open, to me this talks about emotional unavailability. If you're not open to like what can happen in a relationship to somebody else, if you're not emotionally available, then you can't expect a relationship to work. If you're wanting a relationship with someone who's emotionally unavailable, then you can't expect them to give you love. And this is like the hardest thing that took me forever to learn. I was expecting, you know, good things to come out of a relationship with a man who didn't love me like as much as I loved him, and I was expecting them to actually just try to be more loving, and they couldn't because they're emotionally unavailable. If somebody's emotionally unavailable, or they're in a relationship to someone else which makes them emotionally unavailable, then you can't expect them to be loving. You can't expect more from them when they can't give that to you. So that's something I had to learn. It took a lot of time to learn that. I do feel like, to me, this is about accepting the way they are, not trying to force something. If someone is not behaving the way you want them to behave, or loving you back the way that you feel like you deserve to be loved, then that's a sign for you to move on from it. That's what I want to say. And some of you are so afraid that there's nothing out there, because I'm being drawn into this white around her. To me, and it feels sort of empty. Some of you, there's emptiness. Some of you have a lot of emptiness, and you're trying to fill that with a person who can't love you. And the reason you're doing that is because having them, at least they're there, whereas if you didn't have them at all, there wouldn't be anybody there. So to me, it's like you're trying to fill your life. And the thing is, you need to fill your life, you yourself need to fill your life with things and people and pets and plants and activities that make you feel full. And I was telling somebody recently, a coworker, and I posted this on my Instagram account, actually. I pulled one of these cards, and it talked about how the greater that hole or the emptiness, the more you need to fill it with plants. The more you need to be outside, the more you need to be digging in a garden somewhere and planting seeds, and it just will take up that space. So yeah, some of you are afraid it's never going to happen. Some of you are afraid that there's this, you know, if you let go of what you have, there's not going to be anything. Some of you have a lot of light to offer, and there's something else. I was just seeing this, like there's this little butterfly here, and to me it's like you have a lot of things to offer. Some of you, it's simply communicating with others in a loving way. That's the way you show yourself to the world. And some of you are capable of communicating in a loving way, but you're not. To me, the butterfly is the transformation, though. And it's interesting, this whole summer, all I focused on really, like in my spare time, is planting things for the butterflies. So butterfly weed, butterfly bushes. I mean, it's just been like, you know, the whole summer has been about the butterflies. And to me, it represents, you know, a transformation, a time of transformation and change. Because obviously the butterfly is, to me, a metaphor for metamorphosis. You know, it's that, it's the biggest change. So I don't want to get too farther into this. I just think that some of you just need to readjust your, I want to say, who you are in the world. Realize that you are someone in the world, that you have something to offer. Realize what that is, and realize that you're not as empty as maybe you think you are. And you have a lot to bring to the table, and not to sell yourself short. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you guys so much for liking, sharing, subscribing, you know, Google Plusing, all that. I'll be back again with more videos, so stay tuned. If you would like a private reading, check out my website, oracledaphne.com. And yeah, I send everyone big hugs, big kisses, and I will talk to you guys again soon. All right, take care. All the best. Bye.